Hello and welcome back to More Than a Game, a podcast about the A-League, Premier League and more. We are back for part 2 of our Premier League season preview pod this morning. This time I'm joined by Damo and Colby. Damo, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, mate. Probably in a better state than you, even though I am also sleep deprived. But how are you feeling?
I'm regretting some decisions I made last night. I'll put it to you that way.
I think listeners will be noticing a change in the quality of your voice, Tommie. Can you just confirm to the listeners you haven't in fact changed microphones or audio setups, but rather it's the inputs earlier in the chain that are causing this.
It's more the outputs in the chain. Outputs at the karaoke microphone. It's a different microphone to the podcast microphone, and it just plays havoc with my voice. So, and Colby, how you doing this morning, mate?
I'm good, mate. Well slept, ready to go.
Fresh.
Yeah, feeling fresh. Feeling very fresh.
Guess that makes one of us.
Yeah.
Alrighty, boys. Let's hook in, shall we? We've got plenty to discuss today on the pod. Let's start with probably maybe this is an easy one. Last year we saw Arsenal go very well in the season, pushed City all of the way, made for one of the most interesting and most competitive title challenges of the last couple of years. Do you guys think anyone can push City again, or are City going to run away with the title and be an uncompetitive title chase this year? Colby?
Oh, I think City can be pushed again, but the question is whether City can be caught. I mean, it's all, as it was last season, the season before, it's all on them to slip up. Because you have to pretty much be perfect to catch them. I think Arsenal can be one of those teams to push them again. Last season, obviously, we saw them fade late. There were key injuries, obviously, that coincided with that late fade. They've strengthened there with Timber. They've strengthened further up the spine with your boy Decky Rice, Tommie, and Kai Havertz in attack. There's still a player in there somewhere, and I think he's more likely to come out at Arsenal than he would have been at the shambles that was Chelsea of the past few seasons. So I think Arsenal have done the right things, and they've given themselves the best possibility to be pushing on.
Damo, do you agree or disagree with any of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think Arsenal on paper look like the one team that can really push City this season, but again, Arsenal, we've seen many times over the past decade or so that under a lot of pressure, Arsenal can really fold. And there's a lot of pressure on Arsenal to perform this year. They've spent a lot of money and they had a good season last year. And can they back it up, I guess? There's a lot of players in that team that themselves are sort of facing a second season syndrome. A few of them had a breakout year, and can they keep up the same level? Can the team keep up the same level? I actually don't think the league's going to be as close as a lot of people do. I think City will probably run away with it much more than they did last year.
And excuse me, even City are going through a bit of a regeneration though, like with Mahrez and Gundogan both leaving. It means that I think they're likely to see a bit of a change over this year. So I don't know. I wonder if it's still hard to see Pep City being caught, in my opinion, but it wouldn't shock me if it is. It is a little bit closer, just in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, they've cleared out the dead wood, haven't they, Tommie?
It totally skipped me by that Mahrez was 32. I was like, what do you mean? Isn't he just 29? Like, isn't he 28 or 29? Anyway.
He's been at City for, 6 years or something?
Yeah, he'd been there a long time. Anyway. Boys, if the title race is pretty much done before it's even kicked off, do you guys think that top 4 is more interesting than the actual title this year?
More of a relegation man, Tommie. Top 4, meh.
I think it is pretty interesting. There's more teams than ever, I think, vying for the top 4. Because more teams than ever expect they should get top 4. Now Newcastle are up there. Spurs are probably the one that are a ways away from everyone else at the moment of reaching that top 4. But we've seen what Ange can do with no expectations and delivering. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Chelsea are obviously going to be back. They've got no European football to contend with as well. They've got a pretty clear schedule, and Big Todd spent a lot of money. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's very tough to predict top four.
Boys, is there anyone outside of that sort of existing sort of six who you think might make a run at top four? Last year we saw Brighton, Aston Villa, obviously Newcastle break into that top six as well.
Probably Villa, Tommie. I think if their trajectory from last season continues, they'd be my pick for an outsider to sort of go close.
Thank you for bringing up Aston Villa, because I was sort of quietly big on Aston Villa and Unai Emery last season. And look, I'm going early. My bold prediction for the pod this year is that Aston Villa are going to make top four. I think they have recruited exceptionally well. They were just crazy good in the back half of last year. And I think not only have they recruited well, but they haven't lost any key players either. So like they've expanded their squad as well heading into a European campaign, and I just see them doing, like, there's no negatives about their season.
Well, Lopetegui's got a preseason as well. He didn't get a preseason last year. He just came in midway through, didn't he? Like,
are you getting your Spanish managers confused?
Oh, did I say Lopetegui? Sorry,
Yeah.
Emery. Yeah, I those two are interchangeable in my head. Sorry, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I don't know what Lopetegui's sort of memeable.
I don't know what Lopetegui's doing at Villa. Yeah, no, but I think
we should get back to Wolves and then they have a
quality Spanish manager with the preseason. So I think that makes a difference too.
Yeah, fair enough. Boys, excuse me. We've mentioned, I guess, briefly about Spurs and Chelsea's poor seasons from last year. Liverpool also were a little bit underwhelming as well with their campaign last year. Who do you think is going to have the best sort of bounce back campaign this season out of those three, or another candidate?
I think I sort of mentioned that before. Chelsea, to me, stand out. They've got a pretty clear schedule. They've recruited pretty well. They've cleared out a lot of dead wood. A bit of a rebuild sort of going on there, and Pochettino in. The new striker Nico Jackson, I think his name is, has looked really impressive in the preseason. I saw someone on Twitter make a comparison to him as like half Diego Costa, half Didier Drogba, and I thought, I haven't seen him play much, but that's high raps on a young man that's not scored that many goals. So, but yeah, he seems to really have he's got the dog in him, as we like to say on the pod.
But look, Damo, before you go any more about Jackson, I do just want to throw it out there that George has already claimed him as his boy. So
yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Although I do feel somewhat a bit apprehensive that he's. I think he was signed for something like 40 million or 50 million or something from like the team that was it 2 years ago won the Europa League. So like he's hardly like an 18-year-old guy who's making his first starts in European in professional football. So just want to throw that out there.
It's a good point.
Colby, what do you think, mate? Who's going to have the best bounce back season?
Well, firstly, Tommie, I just want to take slight umbrage with Liverpool being thrown in this basket. I mean, they finished fifth. They did have a slightly disappointing season by their own standards, but I don't think it's anything they need to necessarily bounce back from. But I think I agree.
They're losing their captain, mate. Let's be fair.
Are we talking about this on the pod?
While we're talking about baskets, I think Liverpool were best described as a basket case for most of last season. So,
not going to bite. But I mean, Chelsea
That's
on
bait.
numbers, right? That's bait. They finished 12th. So I mean, they've got the lowest base to come off there. Tottenham 8th. That is Tottenham's worst season in I think like a decade or something. I'm going to fact check that for my preview of Tottenham. But so they're coming off a really poor season from their own standards as well. We don't know what Big Ange will be able to achieve in his first season. But you know, we've seen what he can do in the past. But yeah, I'd have to agree with Damo. Out of those three, I think it would probably be Chelsea to have the biggest bounce back. Pochettino is a good manager. I think people aren't probably talking about him enough because you know he was really successful with Spurs, getting them to the Champions League final, and then sort of they had that one season or two where they sort of dropped off a little bit, and then he went off to Paris and couldn't really do much with PSG. So, but I don't think that's as much on him as it is on that hugely dysfunctional dressing room at PSG. So, I think people sort of forgot about him while he was away. So I think they'll be back. We're getting comments in the chat from Sal saying Chelsea going to finish 8th. So I wouldn't call that a bounce back, but I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you do see that as a bounce back from 12th.
I mean, it's a bigger bounce back than Liverpool will have. They're not going to go 5th to 1st, are they?
Hey, you might go 5th to 4th.
And there's just no bounce in a wicker basket. So it doesn't have those bouncy properties. It's interesting. I think pretty much it's been universal across the pod so far that people are expecting Chelsea to have sort of the best response after the last campaign. So it's curious to see Sal pop up into the chat and say that they're going to finish outside the European places.
Still got Lukaku on their books though, don't they? Good to get rid of that trash man.
Throw him in the wastebasket.
He's brought the Timberlands and the jeans back out again, Lukaku. Man United Lukaku is back.
I heard they're going to be a hit and trin. Alrighty, boys. What has been your favourite or your best transfer of the window to date? And if you've got one, feel free to throw out a worst transfer of the window as well.
Well, I think Declan Rice is the big one in terms of made all the headlines, and it really is exactly what Arsenal needed. I think it makes the title race and it makes the Premier League a far more interesting competition. And I know it's much to your disappointment, Tommie, that he's left West Ham, and it must be really tricky. But yeah, I think the excitement of that, it's a big money transfer. I think he's the most expensive English footballer of all time, and I found that fascinating, the whole saga of Declan Rice leaving. So that for me is probably the most interesting.
I think it's a good one for all three, Damo, because the £105 million, like West Ham have sold high. You look at some of these other clubs that have tried to hold on to their crown jewels for so long that they end up getting nothing out of them, or they miss that high point to sell. Look at Wilf Zaha, like going off to Galatasaray for free when they could have got 80 million for him 2 seasons ago, selling him to Chelsea or Arsenal or one of those clubs, and there are other examples of that as well. So I think it's really good business from West Ham, as much as it'll hurt the club and the fans in the short term to see him go.
Look, from a West Ham fan perspective, I think you're exactly right that West Ham have got a pretty good deal out of it, and it's now up to them to spend the money, but also to spend the money wisely. So spending the money just at all is proving a bit of a challenge for West Ham at the moment. But maybe that could be just a worse transfer, is that we're 6 days out from the season starting or 5 days out from the season starting, and West Ham haven't made a signing yet.
It also feels to me, Tommie, that the sort of level of player, or the caliber of player that West Ham are interested in, is the caliber of player that Saudi Arabia are interested in. And you're now competing, and it's not a bad thing, right? There's a lot of good players going there from big clubs, but you're competing with just an opposition that you can't compete with anymore at that sort of level of transfer.
I think that's a pretty fair point, and like Edson Alvarez is probably the most most noteworthy player that we've been linked with in the last couple of weeks. And he's coming off a season where Ajax are having like one of their worst seasons in like the last 20 years. Alvarez was quite highly rated, but didn't actually have a particularly good season himself. So it's like, well, this isn't sort of all of the makings for a great next season for West Ham or for Edson Alvarez or the Declan Rice money being spent particularly well. But we'll see.
That's the headline, Tommie, anyway, Declan Rice. But can I throw a few out there?
Sure, mate.
So I think the Leicester fire sale, there's huge value in that. Obviously, James Maddison to Tottenham for 40 million, Harvey Barnes to Newcastle for, 39 million or something. Like, huge value in those. They're really
Tielemans, how much did he go to Villa for?
0.
Yeah, that's
free.
So that's, huge value there. I don't know whether they're the best, but they deserve to be on the list, as does Alexis McAllister to Liverpool, World Cup winner for 35 million. That's pretty insane value too. But like that's pretty much all I've got on the best list. The worst list is far more interesting. And I'll just throw a few names out there. Romeo Beckham to Brentford on an undisclosed. I don't know if he won't play, but I just thought that's funny. Tommie's boy will be really sad to see go. Ashley Barnes leaves Burnley on a free to Norwich. Tommie, you'll be really sad not to have him in your FPL team. So that's a really sad one. As I mentioned, Wilf Zaha, like going off, sailing off to Galatasaray. Ashley Young to Everton from Villa. Great for Villa. Like, I mean, maybe prove me wrong, but gee, that's a sad signing if you're Everton and you just avoided relegation, and this is like you've sort of picked me up to the fans. You're picking up like an 80-year-old Ashley Young. Same sort of vibe with Johnny Evans back to Man United from Leicester. Like, they definitely got the worst part of the Leicester fire sale there, even if he was free. But the biggest one for me in worst is it's got to be Rasmus Højlund to United for 72 million for like a 20-year-old. He's going to be Damo's called him the Haaland from Wish. I'm calling him the Danish Martial.
I've seen that comparison thrown out a lot. Like they paid 70 million for Martial, 60 million, whatever it was. But Martial spent like 8 years at the club and scored 190 goals or something ridiculous. And he by the standard that when he signed and everyone thought he was going to be a 30-goal a season striker, he never met. But he was still a very good player at Manchester United and a very good servant of the club. Like I think they got their money's worth out of him at the time. But you don't spend 70 million on someone to have a coming off the bench striker that scores sort of 12 to 15 goals a year, do you?
Yeah.
Or do you these days? You don't know.
Yeah. Boys, I guess you just don't do that when you're looking for the big guy. You're looking for your main striker, and it's sort of like that's the conundrum that United are in. Like they can't really. There's not that they obviously they'd love to have Harry Kane, and they I'm sure they wanted Erling Haaland when he was available, but they're just stuck going for these overpriced youth, a bit like Chelsea in that sense as well.
Boys, on the topic of Martial, I just want to throw it out there that Martial's been so bad over the last few years that not even the Saudis want him.
Oof.
Boys, one other bad transfer that I want to add, it's Kovacic to City, and not from the City perspective. I think they have got an absolute steal, but Chelsea only got 30 million for this guy. Like he's proven Premier League quality. You can see he's a really intelligent player. I think Pepe's going to love this guy. Like he's versatile, can play in sort of a couple of different sort of positions in midfield, can do a couple of different jobs. So that for me is just one of that is the worst transfer from a Chelsea perspective.
It's so smart from City leaving that so late because they knew that Chelsea had to get him off the books, and Chelsea needed to clear out all of these players. So it's as if Chelsea was relegated, like they've been pushed into a fire sale themselves. But so smart from City to swoop in when they did. Agree, Tommie.
Yeah, well, as bad as that is a move for Chelsea, you mentioned before of Gundogan leaving City. I think Kovacic comes in as just as good, if not better, player under Guardiola than Gundogan has been. So it's a like for like replacement, really, and a very similar player that just never really kicked off at the Premier League level like he has everywhere else in the world that he's played.
Good shout. Boys, moving on to kits. We always enjoy a bit of kit chat here on the pod. Damo, you got a favourite kit or a kit that you hate so far in the preseason?
My favourite kit easily is the Manchester United away kit, the green and white stripy boy. I absolutely love it. I think that is probably the standout kit for me. I'm a big fan of Sheffield United's away kit and Sheffield United's third kit. They're a bit plain and boring for a lot of people, but they've gone 90s vintage football fashion vibes, which it screams baggy jeans and a tucked in football jersey for me.
I agree with the Sheffield ones, Damo. I actually love all of Sheffield's kits. So that'd all be on my best list. The home, away, and third kits from them. And love that they haven't got a sponsor on them. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe they do by now. But in that photo shoot, they didn't. Oh,
yeah, they played last night in a friendly against Stuttgart, and we've got a new sponsor, CFL Capital or something. So it's just a random investment company that's slapped the logo on the front. It doesn't look too bad on the home jersey. It's the red and white logo, so it fits in with the home jersey. But I'm afraid how it's going to look on the yellow one, unless they change the color of it, or if there's a different sponsor on the yellow one, who knows?
Thanks. I hate it.
Yeah, but you haven't been able to buy the kits yet without the sponsor, unfortunately. So Chelsea released their kits sponsorless.
That's so smart.
When they went on sale sort of a month ago, and you could buy them without a sponsor. Sheffield United didn't give that opportunity. They released their kits and then said they'll be on sale from the 1st of August, which when they're on sale, there was a sponsor already organised.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you do that, right? Because like the sponsors don't care like how many kit sales. They only care that they're going to be on the broadcast for the whole season, right? Like, so why wouldn't you just do that? Because presumably, like, there's a huge segment of fans from each club around the world that would love to have a sponsorless kit if they could.
I would have bought one if I could buy it without a sponsor. I probably won't buy one now because I don't want a random investment company that'll go bankrupt in the next, half a dozen years on the front of a jersey.
It was like those Socceroos training kits before the 2018 World Cup, where they were sponsorless, and then they got Caltex on them, and a bunch of people bought them before they had Caltex on them, and then after that you could only buy them with the big Caltex slapped across the front, and no bueno.
Yuck. Colby, what are your thoughts on that Liverpool away kit?
Love it.
The quarters.
You mean Blackburn?
No, I love it. It's beautiful.
Look, every year, like clubs wheel out this is an homage to this kit from like whatever year, right? But this kit is an homage to like a mid-90s away kit that Liverpool had, like Robbie Fowler sort of era, right? And I loved this kit at the time because I like quarters. For me, they're up there with Sash's, right? But this kit, I actually think they've done. It's like a really modern like take on it. And look, I know it's
the 8-bit quarters.
Yeah, I know
it's called fashion.
I think it's called like 2005 fashion.
That's where we are, Damo.
Yeah, exactly. That's fashion.
Yeah.
That just hits different, doesn't it? I know it's not to everyone's taste, the interpretation that they've done of this Liverpool kit, but I really like it. It was one of my favorite kits for the year, and I think it's been a while since I've liked a Liverpool kit. So I just want to go on the record as well and say that I really like both Crystal Palace's home and away kits. I think they've got the best like overall range of home and away kits. And Damo, you'll like this one as well. Well, actually, no. Based off our conversation yesterday, I know you won't like this. I really rate the Sheffield United home kit. I don't like their away or third kit, but I really like their home kit.
I've had a lot of people say that, and Colby, you said it as well, you really like the home kit. It's probably my least favourite of the three. I like them all. I think they're all great kits, but the home kit's probably my least favourite of the three.
I agree with that ranking, Damo. Yeah, I'm the same, but I do quite like them all. But yeah, I like the away and the
much
third
opposed.
in particular.
Much opposed to the kits they had when They came back to the Premier League a few years ago, which were horrible. I think they've done a really good job with these ones.
Yeah, that's like Luton vibes. That kit is just, I mean, what's going on? You know, you're probably only going to get one season in the Premier League ever, and like, look at your kits. Sorry. And Fulham home and away, just a train wreck.
Oh, what? Hang
Disgusting.
on. I want to throw it out there. If there's one thing I like about Fulham this year, it's the alternating stripe colours on the shoulders. That's a bit of a throwback to like mid 2000s when they had like the non-symmetrical pattern going on. And I think like after that, FIFA or the Premier League brought in a rule that like it had to be symmetrical after that. You remember how it had like the slash across one shoulder?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, your kits are black. Your colors are black and white. Like, how hard is it to make that look bad? Yet they still somehow achieve it. And the pink one, you know, I'm a fan of a pink alternate kit, but that just looks like a training shirt, and it's oh no.
So you are firmly in Oppenheimer camp over Barbie? Is that it?
Yeah, I don't like the Fulham Barbie kit. No way. I'm
Sure.
all about the Oppenheimer kits. I don't know who has those. Probably Luton.
If there's one weird thing this year, and I don't think this is sort of exclusive to the Premier League, it's that there's a bunch of teams that look like they're wearing a Watford kit. Like, I think it's Nottingham Forest who have like a yellow and black sort of half kit. Like one half is black, one half is yellow, and like that's an oddly specific to Watford look in my mind.
Newcastle third is a bit Watford away or Watford third sort of vibe.
Yeah, and just like there's a bunch of jerseys that I looked at this year and went, that looks like a Watford kit. Like, why is there so many teams with a Watford kit this year?
I think we just miss. I think we're just looking for what we want to see. We just miss Watford on this pod.
Yeah. Can we quickly mention that Newcastle have brought the Saudi Arabia home jersey in as their away jersey again?
Yeah, rip.
I love how Newcastle haven't had a green jersey for forever, and all of a sudden now they've got exactly the same kit as the Saudi Arabia home kit as their away kit. What a coincidence!
Disgusting.
Fashion.
Yeah, shout out to Burnley away is big Watford vibes too, and the W sponsors it's just triggering something in my brain.
That's not a dub. That's an L.
It's a dub. But yeah, no, love it.
Boys, before we get into, rapid fire predictions for, top four relegated, so forth, please roll out who your boy is.
Joao Pedro.
Go first?
Do I want to go first? Look, my boy was going to be Iliman Ndiaye, but that's a saga I'll talk about in my preview of Sheffield United. So, yeah, look, I think my boy this year is going to be Timber from Arsenal. I've got a mate who's a big Ajax fan who's really, really high on Timber. Says he's better than Saliba. Let's wait and see.
Huge.
I just can't wait for him to get like pushed over and someone to be like yelling Timber as he goes down.
Got a long way to fall. He's a big man.
Yeah. Colby, you were big on Joao Pedro?
Yeah, again? I'm still big on Joao Pedro. Yep. He's joined Brighton and Hove Albion from Watford. I think, they've made a bit of space in their midfield, obviously selling a few players. So I think he'll hopefully get game time. I'm looking forward to seeing my boy back in the Premier League.
Just a bit more Watford for the Prem. All right, boys. I got a couple of boys as well. I got Divin Mubama for West Ham, 18-year-old striker. He's pretty much like a Michail Antonio regen. Elliot Anderson, wide player at Newcastle. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets some good minutes this year, and I think he could be a bit of a breakout star, even amongst sort of some of the wide players that they've got there at Newcastle. And this one is a bit of a throwback to a football manager save of mine from a couple of years ago when I was managing Coventry in the Championship, and that's Ryan Giles at Luton. He got 11 assists last year for Borough in the Championship from fullback, so wouldn't be shocked to see him with a few contributions this year for Luton, assuming that they score any goals and they don't just lose 10-0 every game, right? And a bit of a left field choice for a boy as well, and that's Unai Emery, because I've already said that I'm going big on Aston Villa this year. I'm basically claiming Unai Emery as my boy, even though he's very, very old to be a boy.
Do you mean Julian Lopetegui or?
All right, boys. Let's wrap this up then, shall we? Rapid fire. Who are your champions, top four, and relegated? Colby?
Champion City, top four. I haven't decided the order yet, but it will include Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man United. Relegated, Luton, Sheffield, and Crystal Palace.
Oh, yep. Not the first person to have Crystal Palace going down, but interesting. Damo?
City, I've got as champions. Top four, I've got Chelsea, Arsenal, and Manchester United. Not necessarily in that order, although I do believe Man United will be fourth. Then relegated, I've got Luton bottom, Sheffield United next, and then Fulham.
Yeah, interesting, because Fulham's season has the potential to completely go off the rails, right? Mitrovic wants to leave. Paulinho's injured. Who else? Willian has said that he's agreed to a deal, but Fulham are refusing to sell him.
Well, he's gone.
Well, no,
isn't he?
Fulham apparently refusing to agree to a deal. So he's
Yeah,
staying
right.
unless Fulham agree to a deal. And there was one other as well. No, that might be it. Yeah, that was it. All right, for me, City champions, joining them in the top four, Man United, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. Yep, I'm saying Aston Villa to make top four.
You're just down on us. You just don't like Arsenal because of the Decky Rice situation, so you're not including them in the party?
Look, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I've been watching...
Disrespect, Tommie.
I've been watching Arsenal, or sort of following Arsenal, or following Declan Rice's progress at Arsenal, and you're seeing there are clear strengths and weaknesses with Declan Rice, and his ability in sort of building up in a possession heavy team. We saw it in England a little bit at the Euros, I think 2 years ago. You saw that it wasn't always playing to Declan Rice's strengths. Declan wants to play and he excels in a transition heavy sort of team. So I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans be really frustrated with Declan Rice. So it's kind of be really interesting to watch. But yeah, so Aston Villa, in my opinion, not Arsenal in the top four. Relegated, Luton, Sheffield United, and Wolves. Yep, I'm big on one Spanish manager, and I think Lopetegui, not through his own fault, but just because Wolves are a basket case, I wouldn't be shocked if Lopetegui gets sacked by Christmas time, just because he's got nothing to work with at Wolves.
That was sort of the vibe, Tommie. One of your questions, which we didn't have time to get to, but who you think will be the biggest underachievers, Chelsea or Leicester? My response to that was going to be, I think, we will see another mid-table team drop, rather a stable mid-table team just completely, the bottom fall out like a Leicester, more likely than a big team. And I was thinking, it's either going to be Palace or Wolves as well. So it's not a bad shout.
Thanks, man.
Sheffield United are a big club?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Move on.
All right, boys, just to wrap things up then, give us your top scorer, and if you think it's going to be Haaland, who your second top scorer is going to be, your player of the season, and most clean sheets. Colby?
Second top scorer is going to be Darwin Nunez.
Oof.
The man's firing. What were the other ones? Most clean sheets.
Player of the season. Mm-hmm.
Oh, player of the season. Oof. I mean, it's gonna, if it's not a top scorer, player of the season award for Haaland, it's going to be another City player. It's probably going to be a Grealish.
Oh yeah, interesting, nice. He really sort of came into his own last year, didn't he? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. He finally, after all that money they spent on him,
and Golden Glove / most clean sheets.
Mm. You know, it could. It could be Ramsdale. Like as much as you know, he's got a mistake or two in him. Like he's got a pretty like if that defense stands up in front of him.
Are you saying that that'll be Ramsdale/Raya or just Ramsdale?
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
that's
just about to
another
say
thing
that
too,
as well.
yeah.
I would have gone for one or the other if I didn't think they were competing with
And that could blow up
with each
to
other
having
for a
two
spot.
number ones. Yeah, that could hugely blow up. But I mean, you know, so a lot of things have to go right for that to come off.
Damo, what about you, mate? Top scorer, player of the season, most clean sheets.
I'm going top scorer Harry Kane to score more than Haaland. I think
Germany. Yeah.
No, I think he'll stay, and I think he'll score a lot of goals. I do think Spurs will still be not up to the level of anywhere near the top four, but as we've seen when they're not great, they're very heavily reliant on Kane's goals, and I think Kane's goals will carry them at least to a semi-respectable finish for Ange to keep his job. So, another 30-goal season for Kane is not a stretch, and I think seeing Haaland back it up might be more of a stretch than seeing Kane score 30 goals again. So, Kane to be the leading goal scorer. Player of the year, I'm going to go with probably it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because, like you said, Colby, if it's not the person who scores the most goals, it's usually someone from the team that wins the league. And got City winning the league, so yeah, I've got City winning the league, and it's hard to go past like a De Bruyne or a Grealish or someone in that midfield from City. So yeah, it's a tough one. If it's not Kane, it'll be someone from City's midfield, and then most clean sheets. Oh, it's a tough one. You know what? I might go. I was thinking about the Ramsdale option as well, but then throw in Raya there, and it seems like Ramsdale might not play every week. You might have to go with Edison.
Safe choice. Boys, for me, I've gone Ollie Watkins for top scorer after Haaland. Player of the season.
You really need to calm down on this Villa hype. Like, I get it, but I don't get that.
No, man, I'm big all across the board on Villa, right? Player of the season for me is either going to be Bruno Fernandes or Saka. And most clean sheets for me is going to be Onana. I think he's going to be a bit of a transformational. What's the name? Yeah, Onana I think is a bit of a transformational sign.
Maybe if he stays on his line, Tommie.
Didn't Ange say once that he doesn't care, or it was either Ange or Pep that said
it was Ange.
Didn't care if a player got chipped from halfway because the chances of that actually coming off are like, one in a million or whatever. And so, he didn't care. He wasn't fussed about that, which I thought is interesting, given that was, it was probably close to 10 years ago now.
It was when Federici got chipped off his line. He was standing pretty much on the halfway, on the circle at the middle of the pitch, and it was in the Ange testimonial friendly against Greece.
Boys, all right. Now, I'm not sure if either of you have got a bold prediction bottled up that you want to get out before we finish up the pod. If either of you have one now that you haven't already said, now is your opportunity. Damo, Colby?
For bold prediction, Ten Hag gets sacked.
Ooh, that is bold. That's very bold in my opinion. Colby, you got one that you've been bottling up, or you all out?
Nothing I'm bottling up. I the most bold prediction I think so far was that Crystal Palace were going to go down.
Say, they'll bring someone in.
I'm not sure what happened then. All right, that I think that pretty much wraps things up for now. Next up we'll be running through team by team season previews as we normally do on the pod.